Lernen a Blatt Gemara, Tzai Shabbos, Yud Shvat, and Parshas Boy. We are up to the Mishnah and Daf Ayin Tes Amid Aleph. So we're continuing to discuss the case of a Ganef when he's not only liable for paying the penalty of double, but if he then proceeds to shecht it or to sell it, he has to pay the penalty of 4 or 5 times. So just a quick introduction. In order for a Ganef to be liable, he has to take this object and acquire it. As if he would acquire it under normal circumstances. We know there are a certain series of kinyanim we learned in Kedushin. The first perik, you have Mashiach, where you draw something to yourself. So if you draw something in the victim's house, it does not become yours. So you're not liable if it breaks or something is not your fault. We're not talking about if you broke it intentionally, but if it breaks, it's not your fault, or you're not liable, or if you take it out. But if you take it outside, you did Mashiach. If you took it to a side street, if you took it to a Rishus Harabim, a public space, there's an argument that's a kinyan. So the same thing applies to a ganef. You don't become a ganef unless you did something that had been normal circumstances, it would have been a kinyan. If you lifted it, hagba koine b'chol makom. So even if you're inside the victim's house, you lift it, it becomes yours. And once it's yours, if afterwards you go ahead and you shecht it or sell it, you pay the 4 or 5 times. That's one thing to remember, as we'll see. The second thing is, we learned this before already, that there's an exception here. If I send a shliach and I tell him to steal on my behalf, and he does, I am not liable, because ein shliach l'dvar aveda. There's no laws of shlichus when it comes to sins. As we said, there's a possible reason. Divrei harav, divrei talmud, divrei mishamin. I was sure that you would listen to Hashem, not to me. Hashem says, don't steal. I never anticipated steals. I never really meant it with my whole heart. And but an exception is when it comes to shechting and selling. There we say yesh shliach etvar. We have 3 different sources for it, but let's say the first one was, we'll just share one with you. That is, it says the pasuk with tovach oimacha, you shecht it or you sell it. When you sell an item, you need a third party. Otherwise, who are you selling it to? So when it comes to tvicha, there could be a third party as well, because it's written next to each other, and the third party means I pointed it as a shliach, and yesh shliach. In this case, the shliach is liable. So remember, that was in the Mishnah. The Mishnah is broken up into different parts. Part 1: Gona b'shus bailim. I broke into somebody's house, an intruder, and I stole something. I wanted to steal something, and I started to drag it, from one room of the house to another. And then that I took it outside of the house. So as soon as I took it out of the house, I did Mashiach. So now I acquired it, I became a ganef. And then I shechted or sold it outside of the house. I'm liable. Case number 2. Shigonav chutz meshusam. That initially it was sitting somewhere outside, and I pulled it to myself, so I became a ganef. And then I brought it back into the dinger's house. And I shechted, I sold it. I'm liable. That's a chiddush, even though you can argue I returned it to the original owner. But because I didn't make him aware, and because my intention never was to give it to him, because of haraya, I sold it to somebody while it was in the premises of the owner, or I shechted it, so I did not do tshuva, I have to pay them 4 or 5 times. Case number 3. Everything occurred outside of the owner's house. You stole it, was somewhere outside, and you shechted and sold it outside. In all of these instances, you're fully liable, you pay everything, all the penalties. Case number 2. A second part of the mission. If you stole, and then you proceeded to shech, or you sold it, it never left the owner's premises. Then potter, you are potter. I am potter because I never became a ganef. I did not acquire it. Pulling it in the guy's house to make mine, and I never lifted it in order to be koine. So I am potter. What exactly am I potter from? It's interesting. Rashi says potter miklum. You're exempt from everything. Sounds like you even potter from the principle, because you're not a ganef. Others say you're supposed to read in Rashi potter mikayful. You are exempt from paying the penalties, but you still have to pay the principle. And the first opinion says, if you broke it, you're not liable as a ganef. Perhaps you're liable as a mazik, as an intruder who caused damage. Okay, then the Mishnah continues. Part 3. You were pulling it out of the guy's house, and you were leaving, but you didn't leave the house yet. The animal died on its own. I did not destroy it. It died on its own. So if I became responsible as a ganav, then there's no excuse the animal died. I got to reimburse the owner. But I did not become a ganav because I was still inside the original owner's premises. The potter, he should buy my own potter. He could be a, but if I lifted it, so now he became the ganavs, and then it died a natural death, the ganav was responsible. Or he took her out of the owner of the house. The mason died. Okay, the next part of the Mishnah. Now, the next part of the Mishnah, there are many different opinions on how to learn it. So we're going to learn the second shot of Rashi, and that is, and many Rishonim learn this way. The Ganef called in a kohen. The Ganef had a son that needed pidyon haben. 30 days old, you have to give to the kohen 5 coins. So instead of 5 coins, in lieu of that, you're going to give him something worth 5 coins. So he called the Ganef called the kohen into the. It seemed that the owner was overseas, so something wasn't around. So the Ganef pretended to be the owner of this house. Called in the kohen, said, I owe you the 5 slayim, pidyon haben. Here, take my sheep. The kohen had absolutely no idea that it was stolen goods, and he took it. So he gave it as the b'chayr of his son, pidyon haben. He owed money to a lender. He called him into the house, gave him a sheep. Or the shemer chinim, he gave it to a shemer chinim. He gave it to a shemer who doesn't charge anything, doing a favor. And the only thing the shemer is responsible for is if he was negligent. Or the shayl to a borrower who's responsible for everything. Or the noisei sacher, or somebody who gets paid for minding it. Or the seicher is somebody who pays rent. And what happened was the hoya moishchei, this kohen or this shemer, thinking that this animal was this ganus, and they took the animal and took it out of the house. So they did the geneva. So they were really an agent on behalf of the ganus. They had no clue. So even though normally we say ain't shlich of va'avera, but in this instance we're going to say that they are shlich and the ganef is responsible. So it depends now. If the mace b'shus the animal died while it was still in the original owner's house, and again, nobody became a ganef. You were in a kinyan, but they lifted it. Took it out of his bargain. The mace and the animal died. Chayiv is chayiv because they became a ganef. Now, who is chayiv? Who is chayiv? So the way we're learning right now is Rashi's pshat and the many Rishonim, but within that pshat there's a big argument. So who is chayiv? Rashi and Tosfos and many Rishonim hold. Who's chayiv? The ganef, not the kohen and not the shemer. Why? So they say, based on the logic we said before, what is the logic of Ein Shlichet V'Avera? The owner the Shalech can say, I never assume you're going to follow my instructions. Hashem said otherwise. But you can't say that in the case where they had no idea they were committing an Avera. They thought that the sheep belonged to you. So why wouldn't they have followed? You can't say I didn't expect them to carry out my instructions. So in that instance, we say, Yesh Shlichet V'Avera. And because we say Yeshua Dvarveda, so when the Kohen took out the sheep, and then the animal died, the Shalech is totally chayiv. That's Rashi and others. Others learn, others learn Ritva, they say no. They say the reason why ain't Shlich V'Avera is exeres a custom. The whole idea of Shlich is not a logical thing. The Torah said you can make a Shlich, but these are the rules. You don't follow the rules, there's no Shlichus. If you for Navera, there's no shlichus. I never says the Torah. I never apply the laws of shlichus when it comes to Navera. So who's chayiv? The kohen is chayiv. The shemer is chayiv because they became a ganef. True, it's not their fault, but it doesn't matter. They became a ganef. Ain't shlichus v'avera, and now if the animal died, they're responsible. The Torah is responsible. Okay, Gemara. So if the Gemara asks a simple question, again we have a machlekes here how to understand the Gemara. But let's see how Rashi learned and some Rishonim. Boy and Meimer. Meimer asked the following question: Tiknu meshicha b'shemer olay. That when does a shemer become obligated and responsible for the item? Is it as soon as he commits? Yes, I take responsibility, or actually when he takes it out of the owner's house, sort of makes a kinyan. When he takes it out, that's when he becomes responsible. Others learn no shemer becomes responsible till they make a kinyan. But the question is, can he change his mind after he made the kinyan, Mashiach, or is it before he started working with it, or is it too late? Once you made a Mashiach, it's the shoyl and you're responsible completely until you give it back to the owner. So the Gemara wants to know: is the Mashiach so by Shemim? So let's look at actually learn by Shemim. Do they become responsible as soon as they took responsibility, or they become responsible when they made the kinyan. Amar Yema Toshma, look at the mission to the mission and not to the Benoy. He gave it to the Kohen as a opinion of Ben, or about Chayba or to a lender. They all thought that it was his sheep. Which was violent, but if they were taking it out without knowing that it was a stolen goods, if it died in the house, they put it. My love, who is potter? The shamer is potter. Now, why is the shamer potter? Why is the shamer? Very good. So we see from clearly that tiknu meshicha b'shemin. So we said yes. In the rishus bailim is potter. What about if it went outside of the rishus bailim, it becomes chayiv. Why? Because that's when you made a meshicha, and the ganav now becomes chayiv. So what do we see? What is the critical moment? The critical moment is when he made a meshicha. My shmamino tiknu meshicha b'shemin. Amr said, "Look, loy ganav." We're talking about over here that if if we're talking about a different case altogether, I'm changing the shot of the Mishnah. I'm going to learn shot of the Mishnah is we're not ayin test Amar Aleph about 7 lines at the bottom of the page, and we're talking about what by a shomer. When does he become responsible? When he pulls it, or as soon as he takes responsibility? So we're saying that in our Mishnah is talking about a different case altogether. The ganav went to the shomer's house and stole it from the shomer. So we say, if he took it out of the house, the ganav becomes responsible. Still in the house, he's potter. Says the Gemara, we had the exact same case in the beginning of the Mishnah. You stole it from the original. What's the difference? You steal from the original owner, he stole from the shomer. So he answered back, maybe Tana Ganav Shagana base of Bailim, the Tana Ganav Shagana base of Shomer. Talking about 2 different instances. On the Rashi, it doesn't make sense. Like Titchayu, with your rejection, he says to Rabbi Yema, to Amema, it makes sense. Mali Ganav, to Amema, to rejecting Rabbi Yema makes sense. Mali Ganav Shagana base Shomer, Mali Ganav Shagana base of Bailim. Why should the Mishnah have to repeat it twice? Elalav Shomer, we're talking about that the Shomer is the one who took it out. The Shomer does not become responsible until he takes it out. Okay, so a shamer does not take responsibility until he does an act of a kinyan. Saying the words "I'm responsible" is not enough. It's only when he takes it out of the original owner's house he takes full responsibility of everything that happened. In fact, Itma Nama, we learned that as well. We're 4 lines from the bottom of the page. Amar Rabbi Lazar, an ayin tes Amar Aleph. Rabbi Lazar said, "Kederech shetiknu meshicha belekucha." Just like they said. If you want to buy something, how do you acquire it? You have to, if it's a portable item, you have to drag and draw it to yourself. When does a shamer become responsible? When he draws it to himself. Tanya Nami we actually learned it in a brayse. Just like when you buy something, you draw it to yourself, it becomes yours. Same thing applies to shamer. And a side issue. Karka, how do you purchase land? Niknas bekesef, either with money, bishtar, either with a document, or chazaka when you make repairs on the property itself. The same thing applies to renting. Now the Brisa doesn't spell out renting what, which the Gemara will explore. The same thing applies to renting. Niknas, how do you acquire a rental? Bekesef, either by giving money, bishtar, a document, or with chazaka you make repairs. Says the Gemara, what kind of rental are we talking about? Right? What products are you renting? Elaine, what we talking about? The metalplin, you're renting portable items. Well, you're telling me that one of the ways of renting it is by a star, the document. Metalplin b'nei shtarna, you can't make a document on metalplin. When you buy something, and once you make a kinyan, I cannot change. It's a reversal. I can't change my mind. But if I say, I promise I'm going to buy this item from you, right? Just in the world of words, I can change my mind. If I do, the Gemara says all you get castigated, and we throw at you the concept of Misha Par. We'll have the Gemara Hazav Babatzia, which is the same God that punished the people of Noach and the people of Dera Flog is going to punish you for not abiding by your word. Your word should be your bond. A star is just a collection of words, which means it has no power. So Amar Chiz is a karka. We mean renting property. Now, renting property says clearly here there are 3 methods of renting property: money, documents, or chazaka repairing. We had the Gemara Psachim Davdalad that we had a discussion. Who's the one who's responsible to rid of the house of chametz? Is it the landlord or the tenant? And we said it depends who has the key the night of the 14th. And Rashi says it because having the key means you are the owner at the time. So Rashi adds a 4th dimension or a 4th method of how you can acquire rental property by having the key. So Tosfos ask over there, Babasa says it doesn't make sense. The Gemara says that three ways. So we answer that Rashi, first of all, in logic, Rashi makes sense. When you buy a property, you buy the property itself. A key is extraneous to the property, so therefore it doesn't make it yours. But when it comes to rental property, the property is not mine. What I'm doing is I am renting the use of the property. Well, the key gives me access, so it makes perfect sense that whoever has the key, whoever has access, is the owner of the rental property, or at least during the time of the rental. And Rashi says that the Gemara is not saying that rentals are limited to three ways. These are three ways, but there are other ways as well. Taking about it further, Amar Rabbi Lazar said, Ra'uhu, what happens if we saw this person, Shehetmin B'chorshin, he was hiding out in the forest, because there were many shepherds out there who let their lambs or sheep, whatever it is, graze in the property, graze in the forest, and his guy was standing there, he wanted to steal. The Tavach, he stole, he shechted, the Macher, he sold, Mishalim, Tashlum Chavisha. He has to pay 4 dice. An animal walk by, he takes a knife and gives us a shech. The question is, why? Haloi Mashach, he didn't make it his. You're saying that it has to make the Ganef in order to be responsible, has to make some kind of a kinyan, has to draw it to himself. He didn't do that here. He just went over and started slaughtering animals that were wandering about. No, he did. When he hit them with a stick, and we learned in Kedushin already, that's a form of Meshicha. Amri, has an interesting question. There's a difference between a Ganef and a Gazlan. A Ganev who is discreet, if he's caught, he pays all these penalties. A Gazlan who is brazen pays no penalties. So if this guy is standing there out there in the middle of the woods and there's people who saw him, so it's quite open. He should be a Gazlan. If he's a Gazlan, why are we charging him all these penalties? So when Amri, we kiven to the Gazlan, since we all saw him, he's a Gazlan. And if we all saw him, he's a Gazlan. Now, true. Every Ganef that has 2 witnesses, they obviously saw. But it's a big difference. A Ganef is only scared of the owner that he stole the goods from. Of the rest of the people there, why should he be scared of them? He didn't steal anything from them. So these 2 people who see him, he's not scared of them because he didn't steal from them. So that's why. But the Ganef is hiding from the person that he stole from, the victim. This guy in the forest, there's sheep from everywhere. He has no idea who the owners are. There were many owners there that gave their sheep to the shepherd to look at. So therefore, he should be scared of every single person. But he's not. So he's a Gazlan, brazen. He's going to ask a question, so why is he paying penalties? Answer the Gemara, keeping the commitment in Menayu, since the fact is he's hiding behind the trees, is Ganafu. Proves that there is a certain discretion, he's a Ganef. That the Gazlan, what's a typical example of a Gazlan? Take, for example, Benoi ben Yehoda Shnemer. It says there in the Pasuk that he hit this Egyptian guy, and he took the he took the spear from the hand of the mitzvah, and he used that instrument to kill the mitzvah. So that's the that's not hiding in the forest behind the trees. First, somebody borrows money and refuses to pay back, he's not a Ganef.
Remodel, your sound and video is cutting out.
Oh, sorry. Is it better now?
Just now.
Okay, so Rashi in the beginning of Sanhedrin says if somebody borrows money or refuses to pay back, he's a Rasha, but he's not a Ganef. And he learns from this pasuk by Yigzol Esachanis. When are you considered a Ganef? Only if it came into your hand illegally, somebody else's item. But if that person lent you the money, you had every right to take it. And now that it's by me, I don't want to give it back to him. That doesn't make me a Ganef. That makes me a terrible person, a Rasha. And the Gemara says paying back loans is a mitzvah, but we don't call you a Ganef. Or another pasuk we bring, Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, you know what a Gazlan is? People of Shem. Shenema says in a pasuk by Yesimule Baalei Shem that the people of Shem made ma'orvim, that they were ambushing, they were hiding there. Aroshi Yaharim, at the top of the mountains. By Yigzul as Kolash Yavra Aleim, they stole from everybody that passed them on the road. So again, we see Vayigzla means taking things which are illegal and so on. But Abavu, my time, he says, this is not a gazlan. They were ambushing. Ambushing means they were hiding. Even the mitmur at Muri, because they were hiding, like gazlinu, they're not gazlanim. Even though the pasuk uses the word gazlan, it's not a good example of a gazlan because they were in hiding. So how can Rabbi Yechon learn from the Gabi? Just gazlan means someone's brazen. Rabbi Yechon had the commitment. You know why they were hiding? Not because they were scared. They didn't want to be exposed. They didn't want these people to see them. When they would flee. They wanted to catch them. Shalu Tamid of Yechazaka, students of Yechazaka asked him, why is it going to pay penalties and the Gazan doesn't? You would think a Gazan is even worse. He's so brazen. Why shouldn't he? Amalan, he said to them, I'll tell you why. The Ganif, the Gazlan, he's not scared of people, nor is he scared of Hashem. So everyone is treated equally. But the Gazlan, the Ganef, he's scared of people. He goes in hiding, but he's not scared of Hashem. He's stealing. As if to say, Osa ayin shalmata, as if he's saying God's eye, God can't see what's going on in this world. And oizel shalmata, in the ears of Hashem, as if Kilan wasn't here. Shenemar, it says in Pasuk, Hoi hamamiki mahashem, those that make Hashem deep, lasted eitzah to conceal all this eitzah wisdom. V'hoya b'machshech ma'aseyim, they conceal their ways. Uksiv. And then it says another part about Yema. What do they say? Lo yidaka, Hashem doesn't see. V'lo yovin l'kei Yaakov, God doesn't understand what's going on. Uksiv. And another part says, they say ki amru ozav Hashem esaz, God forsaken this world. The Ein Hashem roya. That's how they commit. So the Ganif is scared of people, but not scared of Hashem. Omer Amel, Mashal and Mashal. I'll give you an example. What's it similar to? There are two people in town. Both of them made a party. He invited the entire city, but did not invite the royal family. And the other one didn't invite anybody. Who do you think is more trouble? Who do you think will be more punished? You invite the whole city, but you did not invite the royal family. It's much worse. Amar Meir said, now, why is it finally, after discussing for the last 2 weeks about a sheep you pay 4 times and a cow you pay, and an ox you pay 5 times? What's the difference? Amar Meir, boy, they come and see Kama Godlu Koyev Shemalacha. See the value that we have of something that works and creates. Sure, when you steal someone, sure, then you sell it. You cause this person a much bigger loss because he lost out on his share, he did the plowing and so on. Chamishi paid 5 times. Say a sheep, so it didn't do much work. Then our boy, you only pay 4 times. Boy, come and see, come and see how much you value the dignity of people. Sure, but I will steal a share, walks on his feet. Chamisha, you pay the full 5 times. Say for the sheep that never can't walk so fast or run so fast, you have to carry on your shoulders. So you are humiliating yourself. That in itself is considered a part of the punishment. Boy, you only have to pay the remaining 4 times. Mishnah. Ein megadlim behema dakla Yisrael. We do not raise sheep and goats in Eretz Yisrael. Why don't you raise sheep and goats in Yisrael? Rashi is not so clear. Rashi says here, Mishum Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Well, by telling us Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, it sounds like it's unique to Israel. We want to make sure that the landscape is right. We don't want these animals going in and eating from everybody's gardens and ruining the landscape, the topography. And we want to make sure that, that everything is beautiful and so on. That's how Rashi starts off. But then he says that predominantly the fields belong to Jews, so they'll be stealing from other people's fields. If so, that has nothing to do with Israel. It could be anywhere. In fact, the Gemara we'll see tomorrow talks about bubble. Anywhere where a lot of Jews live, they have the same issue. So it's not clear, it's something to do with Yishuv Israel. And Shulchan Aruch rules that today, because very few people live in Israel, this is the time of Rosh Yosef, this ban is no longer there, which obviously then today, which should be reinstated. Shouldn't have any goats and sheep in Israel. Only.
So then how did you have so many tzaddikim who were Royetzoin, the Avos and the Bnei Yaakov and David HaMelech, all of these tzaddikim?
This is that takana we'll see later Yeshua made. We'll see all these takanas that he made later.
David HaMelech is after Yeshua.
Yeah, and what about it? You're allowed to have. Okay, true, but you'll soon see in certain parts of it, so you're allowed to, as we'll see right here. Aval megadlim, but you're allowed to raise them in a few places. First of all, the Syria. Syria was conquered by David HaMelech. That's called Kibush Yachid. Kibush Yachid, Loishmek. We don't recognize it as Israel. Again, now that sounds like it's Israel. With border Israel, if people don't leave, take them out into the wilderness, that's all right. Everything is Hefker, doesn't belong to private people. That's where all these were royal talking about. Then the next part of the Mishnah. Ein megadlin tarn legolim b'Yerushalayim. You don't raise chickens in Yerushalayim b'pnei hakotchim. Chickens usually dig into the ground, and they might find there are 8 rodents in the trailer that generate tumor. They might, and it's the size of a lentil, very small. And the chickens might, get caught in their feet, and they bring it over. And because in Shalayim there's all these kabbalas, they might ruin them. And the like koinim bad Yisrael, and the entire Yisrael koinim shouldn't have chickens in their backyard, and they are taris because they have to be careful because they have truma and everything in their houses. We should not raise chazayim anywhere in Israel because of a story that we'll learn later about Alexander, Yana, and all that terrible story, tragic story. Lo yigdal adam es hakelev. A person should not raise a dog at home. They all had dogs. In fact, there's a medrash, every Yid left Mitzrayim had a dog. He always had dogs in the, for the sheep, keep them in line and so on. Talk about at home. You should not have a pet dog. Elim kain hayu kosher b'shashal unless it's under a leash. Now, later on, we're going to learn. It says there you should not have a kelev ra, bad dog. What's a bad dog? So Rashi here actually explains our Mishnah as if the later Gemara, and that is either a dog that bites or it barks a lot to strangers, and the strangers are petrified. And if a woman is pregnant, for example, who knows she might miscarry, and you're causing fear in other people, you have no right to do that. That's called ra. It doesn't matter whether physically you hurt somebody or you frighten them, you intimidate them. This Mishnah doesn't say that. The Mishnah says open-ended statement. Ain't le'yigadul odom as a kelly. You're not allowed to have a dog, pet the dog. And that is why many people don't have pet dogs. Many people don't have pet dogs because of this Mishnah. Others who do argue that this, even though the Mishnah doesn't say it or omitted it, but it's only talking about a dog that intimidates others, who cause fear in other people. So that's the 2 customs that you see out there, whether we have pet dogs or we don't. Ain person shouldn't spread a net to catch these doves, because you'll be trapping also private people's dove. They used to have them as pets or something. And again, if you're 30 days away, which is 4 kilometers, then we'll assume whatever you capture, whatever you trapped, is from Hefker. That doesn't belong to anybody in particular. So what we learned. You don't raise these goat or sheep in Israel. Again, in Israel, in the forest, you can. So not just in the wilderness, but also in the forest. So that's where they're all doing it. In Syria, in Syria, even where people live, you're allowed to do that. They ain't sort of claim it, but to say in Chutzlar, you're permitted. Tanya, you go another place. Ain't megadlim behemodak by Yisrael. You're not allowed to raise these animals in Yisrael. Ava megadlim b'midbar should be Yehuda in the wilderness, and Yehuda the midbar should be Sfaraku. And over there in the town of Akko, at the border, you're allowed to raise these things in the wilderness. But then the Gemara says, Ava b'shalim megadlim behemodak. Even though you're not allowed to raise a goat or sheep in Yisrael, Ava megadlim behemodak. But cows you can, donkeys you can. Why? A very important rule. If rabbis want to be machmer, they want to put interdict certain things, they should be first fully aware if the community can tolerate it or not. We do not impose decrees on a community. Elim kain roiv tivus. I don't know that some people. The majority of the people, the majority of the people are able to withstand it or to endure it. Then you do that. Otherwise, we have no right to place such gzeros on people. Behemoth daka, when it comes to goats and sheep, you want them for Yom Tov to eat, you want them maybe for a simcha. Extra love, important when you need them. The Hemagasa, their role is to plow. Yes, their role is to be like a freight carrier, the donkeys. You can't bring it all the time. You need it every day. Even though we said you shouldn't raise these animals, but give you a window. Before Yom Tov, we give you 30 days that you can bring these animals. It says that they used to, for these animals, they used to tie if you brought a carbon, they would tie, just like we had by carbon Pesach in the beginning, first time around, they tied them to the bedposts. They would do that every cover. They would tie them to the bedpost and leave it there and make sure that they're all right. So these goats and sheep, they'd leave them at home, and we give you a 30-day window. Or the koydim mishta b'nai for a wedding of your son, lamed yain. But bavad on the proviso, you shouldn't say, well, I have 30 days. You bring it in a week before the wedding, and then you'll keep on having it for another 3 weeks afterwards because I have 30 days. No. The window, the maximum is 30 days, but it ends when the wedding takes place or when Yom Tov takes place. The Salkat, I mean, I would have thought, Yom Tov where we went by, or the Chizovna ad Hashna from the time you bought it until now, Akati Leibolo Leklosim, 30 days haven't expired. Then Loinei Metlosim, is just started lately, so you shouldn't say that 30 days I'm allowed to have. And like even the Nafil Legel, once Yom Tov happened, it's too late, you can't hold it anymore. Another, I guess, exception is Hatabach, a butcher. And he had this market. It seems there's a market every Monday and Thursday, but there were certain market days for animals or for meat. And there was a window then, Hatabach, this butcher that collects animals for this special day, like Keach v'Sheichet, you can buy and shech, like Keach v'Sheichet, you can buy and leave it until the market day. We give you a 30-day window. So obviously, this is not the market day of every Monday and Thursday. So we give you a 30-day window. You should not delay aguna here. Usually aguna means chained. Here Rashi says aguna means delayed. The last one that you receive, don't say, well, I have 30 days from, no, you don't have 30 days. You have up to 30 days, but if it comes to an end the day after the market, you have to get rid of them all. So we'll stop here.